Chair Danielson, we're now live.
Thank you. We will call the meeting to order. Just as an introduction for those members of the public that are here, I'd like to introduce the members of the committee. We have Chris Woods, public member, John Rogers, public member, Gary Trapp, public member, Julia Shortreed, member of council, and my name is Liz Danielson. I'm the deputy mayor and the chair of the Committee of Adjustment. We also have our planner, Sean O'Callaghan, here, and our chief building official, David Rogers. The following meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is a public meeting to consider development proposals that do not comply with provisions of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. Our planner, Mr. O'Callaghan, will provide a brief overview of the application, after which each applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to address the committee. Following this, anyone who wishes to speak to the application will be given an opportunity to do so. The committee will then discuss the proposal and be given an opportunity to ask questions respecting the application. And the committee will then vote to grant, refuse, or defer the proposal. I would ask the committee members if anyone has a pecuniary interest or a general nature thereof today on any of the applications. Okay, hearing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of February the 26th? Moved by Chris Wood, seconded by Julia Shortreed.
Moved by Chris Wood, seconded by Julia Shortreed. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of February 26, 2021. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any business arising from the minutes or a previous meeting. So we will move into new business. And our first item is Con and Purvis on Sonora Drive in Stanhope on Boshkong Lake. If you would present that file, please.
Yes, this property is located at 1096 Sonora Drive. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.4 acres in area with 25.9 meters of frontage on Boshkong Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a single family dwelling, sleeping cabin, 2 storage sheds, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new 2,496 square foot 2-story dwelling with an attached 816 square foot single-story garage. Just a point of clarification as well, the original notice went out with the required minor variance for the garage. It's since been clarified that is no longer required. So there's just one minor variance being sought, and that is to reduce the rear lot line setback from 12 meters to 7.95 meters for the purpose of constructing a 2,496 square foot 2-story dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Boshkong Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. 3 letters of support have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 7.95 meters from the rear lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of the sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. 3, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Do any of the committee members have questions of Mr. O'Callaghan about the report? Hearing none, is there, I believe that the applicants are here and may wish to speak to their application, so they could be invited in.
Hi, sorry about the delay. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay,
Yes,
great.
maybe turn your volume up just a little tiny bit.
Okay. We're at
It's full blast.
we're at the max. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, committee members. I just want to speak very quickly about a couple of things. The request we have for the one variance we are seeking, it's actually only seeking 3 feet variance from what we have currently. The current rear setback is 8.85 meters, and we're going down to 7.95 meter, difference of 0.9 meter or just less than 3 feet. And this is a result of us squaring off the corner of the southeast corner of the building. Right now it jogs. And we're building along pretty much the same footprint, save for 3 feet wider. The other thing I'd like to also point out, and Sean, I pointed that out yesterday, and I know I need to send you some photos, is what is currently labeled as a bunkie on the drawing is in fact not sleeping quarters. It is actually used as storage for most of the time through all seasons and used as a gym specifically in the summer. There's absolutely no bed, nothing in there. Currently in the summer, it has a weight bench and a stationary, sorry, what do you call that?
Bike on a trainer wheel.
Trainer bike. Well, it's actually your stationary spin bike. So right now, as it is now, is full of storage, is full of everything we put in there, all the center paddle board, kayaks and all our toys, windsurfer boards, etc., are regularly stored there, and they're full house now, fully stocked up. So I will produce some photos, and I'll be happy to also produce some photos after we empty all those things out of the bunkie, so-called bunkie, which really is a storage shed.
And that's about it.
And that's all I really have to say.
Do any members of the committee have questions for the applicants? Mr.
Hi,
Roger.
John.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, just to the applicant, I noticed there are some mature trees on the property. Are those going to be coming down, or I couldn't tell from my site visit as to whether they were in the way of the new structures or not?
Not at all. The proposed dwelling, the main footprint of the dwelling, is essentially what we have now, plus 3 feet on the south side. Currently, that is all just vacant land. There's a deck coming down there. There's actually a staircase there. That staircase will be taken over by the new footprint of this. And it's really a drive that wraps around this building on the southeast side. So there's no tree to be disturbed, none whatsoever. On the other side, on the north side, what is shown as a garage, which is actually going to be garage and screen room on the water side. That area currently consists of a deck for a good part of it, and then it's planting bed that we had tiered up with rocks and soil. So there's no big tree to be disturbed from this activity.
Are there any other questions from the committee members? Mr. Trapp.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, you said one of the stairs is coming out. Is that whole deck coming out, or is the deck remaining?
Oh no, the deck has to come off because we're going from 1 story to 2 story. Yeah.
Right.
But the
okay.
footprint is essentially very similar.
That in fact may answer one of the questions that I had. It's not really relevant to the application, but I did wonder how you would access a garage, because at present your house is quite a bit lower than where your driveway access is. So you're raising the house.
Well, because it's going to become 2 stories, so the upper
Right.
will be very similar in elevation. Yes.
So my only other question was with respect to the building that has been called a bunkie. I could not tell from anything that we saw or on paper whether it meets the side yard setback requirements.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that is mislabeled, and I'm sorry, I did not catch this, nor did I understand the significance of this when I got this back from the surveyor. He was never inside, he just saw a building and he put it at bunkie. This is an 8 by 12
Storage shed.
storage shed that is, maybe 7-8 feet high inside, clear height with a A-frame roof. It is used regularly as a storage, nothing else more than a storage. It has, in fact, a very large weight bench in there. That's there all the time, all year round. And it also has now, since last summer, we brought in also a spin bike that occupied the other half of that space. You can't even put a bed in there if you try.
It didn't look big enough for a bed, but it is located.
It's barely big enough for a gym.
Yeah.
It did look like it was fairly close to the side yard property line, and I just wondered what the setback for it was, but that's something that you can clarify. It's not part of your request for today.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Anyone wishes to make? Can I have a mover and a seconder for a resolution for this application? Mr. Rogers and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Julia Shortreed. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 00121 to seek relief from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the rear lot line from 12 meters to 7.95 meters for the purpose of constructing a 2,496 square foot two-story dwelling, subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 7.95 meters from the rear lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that the sleeping cabin be inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin. And just to clarify that, if it is in fact a storage shed, that condition would no longer be applicable.
Thank you.
And that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And four, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So just as one note, there is an appeal period of 20 days, and so no activity until that appeal period is passed. And otherwise, good luck with your construction.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, our next application is Abel on Pathfinder Trail at Coagama Lake. Is there going to be someone who wishes to speak to this application?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, we'll give them a moment to be brought in.
I can go forward with my overview while we're.
Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so this property is located at 1047 Pathfinder Trail. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official.
You have frozen.
And my power's flashing.
Can you see us now?
I can see everyone, but Sean appears to be frozen.
Did we do that?
Your fault. No, but we will have to wait a moment to see if we can resolve things.
That light behind us is pretty bright. I didn't think it would be that bright.
Which one?
That
Window?
one, yeah.
Window.
Oh, no, it's gone.
Julia?
Only because my power's flashing. Can someone give me a number to call in case my power goes out?
Don, can you hear us?
We can. If you mean Don and Don, yes.
No, actually, I meant to Don, our technical person.
Oh, sorry.
It's actually on the email that you.
Is it? Okay. Okay, we're good
That
then.
Dawn sent out, yeah.
Okay, I was just checking it, like, didn't get there that fast. Thank you.
Oh, pretty.
Who has the loon?
I do. It's my,
Your phone?
yeah. But it's got no caller ID on it. Hello? Okay, so what do we do then? Well. Okay.
Oh, Dave's back.
Yeah. Hi. So what happens if we lose quorum? Okay, so everyone who can hear me, they're having power issues at the township office. And we're going to break for 10 to 15 minutes at the longest to see if we can resolve things. And if we can't, unfortunately, we may have to reschedule the meeting. I hope this does not create any or difficulties or delays for anyone, but it's just
Oh,
it's
there he
the
is.
world we live in.
Actually, Madam Chair, it looks like they're coming in. I'm not sure if David Rogers could just either tell us he can hear us or he can speak to us.
Everything's fine at my end.
Yeah, good. Okay. And you're at the,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. We had a power outage here.
So if you could start with your report again, because you broke off fairly shortly into that.
Certainly.
That was a quick 10 minutes. Well done.
Okay, so this property is located at 1047 Pathfinder Trail. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 2.2 acres in area with 191 meters of frontage on Coagama Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a single family dwelling, a sleeping cabin, 2 storage sheds, a privy and a dock. The applicant is proposing to construct a 843 square foot addition to the existing dwelling. They are also proposing to construct a 900 square foot detached garage. The proposed addition will be located on the rear of the existing dwelling. The addition will not project beyond the front face of the existing dwelling. However, the lands are on a point with an irregular shoreline, which results in a lesser setback. The lands are limited in available building locations that would conform to zoning requirements due to topographical constraints, existing site servicing, including the septic system and driveway access. The proposed detached garage will be located behind the dwelling. And again, because of existing site infrastructure, including the driveway and septic, as well as the irregular shoreline, this significantly limits available building locations that would meet the zoning bylaw requirements. So the following minor variances are being applied for. 1 from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw. to reduce the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 9 meters for the purpose of constructing a 843 square foot addition. As well as from section 4.2.8 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 18.1 meters to permit the construction of a 900 square foot detached garage. Notice that the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, and to the Quabbin Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed garage is not located closer than 18.1 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 3, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. 4, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 5, that appropriate construction mitigation and measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Do any of the members have questions from Mr. O'Callaghan on this application? And we have the applicants here. You wish to speak to your application? Anything that you would like to add?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
Thank you for your time this afternoon. Most of you probably know this already, but Dawn and I owned Mountain Trout House Marina up until about 5 weeks ago, and plan to stay in our retirement here at our cottage on Pathfinder Drive. And to do that, we need a little bit more room. It's about 1,000 square foot cottage, beautiful location, but having come from a 2,500 square foot house, it's a little tight. So we're applying to add a bedroom, an ensuite, and walk-in closet, along with the garage to obviously put cars and tractors and things like that in. So that is the basis of the application. Hopefully you've had a chance to see the property and understand what Sean was talking about, in that the property is fairly restrictive in the way it's laid out. I think both buildings would currently be considered legal non-conforming based on their location. And the one thing we need to do is finish removing a refrigerator from the bunkie, because at one point in time, we believe it was the family's original cottage. So at one point in time, they actually did eat and sleep in there. We don't anymore, but there is a refrigerator in there. So to meet one of the qualifications, we would have that removed. Other than that, we're seeking your approval to put the addition on the cottage and to build the garage. And as Sean has pointed out, based on the way the water runs around this property, or the shoreline runs around this property, we have to apply for the minor variances in both instances.
Thank you. I must say that I very much appreciated the staking out that you had done of where the development was going to take place. It really helped with a little bit of a confusing drawing, so that helped a lot. The only question that I have would be, are you planning on moving what appears to be an existing garage or adding on to it?
No, that will actually be removed. So it will be taken down, and the garage footprint will, as you probably figured out from the way we staked it, the garage footprint will be over a portion of where that currently sits.
Right. Okay, do any members of the committee have questions for the applicants? Mr. Trapp?
Just one question. The one corner on the proposed addition, I guess it'd be on the south side. Is there a, that is meeting the high water setback. Is there a dry creek bed or something in there, if I recall?
There is coming down, all of the water that comes off that wonderful hill that you drove down actually drains through our property. So it goes down, the hill is graded to the south. So if you're driving down to your right, then comes under a culvert and comes down about, I would say probably 30 to 40 feet from that corner. And then once spring melt is stopped, it basically dries up.
So that is the corner that you're applying for the variance?
Yes, that corner, what is in fact the southwest corner. But that's not the reason we're applying is because when the lake is at its very highest, there's an inlet that comes in. You probably saw it as depending on when you were here, it's been rising, obviously, with the lake in the last month.
Right, okay. The only other comment I had really is I think the elevation there might be a bit of a challenge for the garage portion of your addition.
Yes, there's going to have to be some blasting, unfortunately. It's a beautiful piece of rock that we sit on, but to accomplish this, we're going to have to take some of it out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder for a resolution, please? Mr. Woods, Mr. Trapp.
Moved by Chris Wood, second by Gary Trapp, be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application age MV221 to seek relief from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 9 meters for the purpose of constructing a 843 square foot addition to an existing dwelling. And from section 4.2.8 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 18.1 meters for the construction of a 900 square foot, 1-story detached garage, subject to the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling addition is not located closer than 9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed garage is not located closer than 18.1 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 3, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. 4, that any on-site sewer system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Chris is frozen.
No.
Oh,
Yay. Did you hear me?
Yep, okay, thank you.
Right.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
yay.
Okay, that's carried.
So your application has been approved. Just keep in mind that there is an appeal period within which no activity can take place. And good luck with your construction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a safe weekend, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, the next application is on Highway 35 in Stanhope at the Kinsman Cottages.
This property is located at 16243 Highway 35. The lands are zoned C3 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The property is approximately 1.25 acres in area with 52.1 meters of frontage on Boschkong Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, rural, and open space. The lands are currently developed with a single-family dwelling and 5 accommodation units, 2 detached garages, and a dock. The applicant is proposing to demolish the 5 accommodation units and construct 2 new accommodation units in the same general area as the current structures. Both proposed accommodation units would be 1,092 square feet and be 1 story in height. A 3rd accommodation unit will be reconstructed in the exact location as the existing structure and remain the same size, not requiring a minor variance. The total square footage of the existing accommodation units are 2 at 840 square feet plus 3 at 625 square feet for a total of 3,555 square feet. By demolishing all 5 accommodation units and rebuilding a total of 3, 1 will be rebuilt at 625 square feet in the same location and remain the same height. 2 of the units will increase in size from 840 square feet to 1,092 square feet and be reconstructed in this general footprint as the existing units. The proposed units will require a minor variance as they are closer to the high water mark than the required 30-meter setback, as well as from the side yard setback where they will be closer than the required 10-meter setback. They will be no closer to the high water mark or the side lot lines than the existing structures are currently. Overall, there will be a net reduction in the total square footage of accommodation units on the property from 3,555 square feet to 2,809 square feet. The lands are limited in available locations that would conform to zoning requirements due to existing structures and existing site servicing, including septic system and driveway access. The following variances will be required to accommodate this redevelopment of the property. 1, from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 14.9 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot accommodation unit. 2, from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 18.5 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot 1-story accommodation unit. 3, from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the interior side lot line from 10 meters to 2.1 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot accommodation unit. And finally, from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduced setback from the required interior side lot line from 10 meters to 5.1 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot 1-story accommodation unit. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Boschkong Lake Property Owners Association. 1 objection was received this morning, and I'll read that letter just so the committee will hear that. So concerns with the application as submitted. 1, the sewage system. Information conveyed in the staff report to committee states that there are presently 5 accommodation units totaling 3,555 square feet. The 3 proposed accommodation units will total 2,809 square feet. Reducing the square footage may not have an actual impact on the land use. It depends on factors that are not mentioned in the report, such as the number of toilets, number of sinks, showers, kitchen and laundry facilities, and most importantly, the proposed maximum occupancy of each of the 3 cabins. This property has been single-family use since being purchased in 1999. With this proposal, may now have as many as 20 guests, high density, on site at peak times. There are no details provided as to the location, size, and age of the current septic system. There is no mention of a proposed location of a new septic system. And if there will be a holding tank for each cabin or a larger tank that all 3 cabins would use communally. This is of great concern to me for the following reasons. One, although this property may have a well for drinking water, my cottage does not. We use lake water, as do most, if not all of the neighbors. Two, referring to the attachment to GIS plan, you will see that Strand Lane lakefront, historically known as Hamilton Bay, forms a cup shape. The shape of this bay keeps most runoff water in the bay. The quality of water for the 8 cottages on Strand Lane adjacent to the north of Kinsman Cottages is dependent on everyone having an adequate septic system. 3, referring again to staff report to Committee of Adjustment, under recommendation number 3, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the Township of Algonquin Highlands and or the Ministry of Environment have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. I feel that the "or" should be removed and that compliance should be with both the Township of Algonquin Highlands and the Ministry of Environment. 2, existing site plan drawing and proposed site plan sketch. Referring to attachment 3, application for minor variance, item 19, drawings. It states that a sketch is to include all of the following 6 points. Without all this information, it is impossible to get a true picture of the Kinsman Cottages Inc. property. For example, boundaries and dimensions of the subject land, information not included. Location, size, and type of all existing and proposed buildings and structures on the subject land, indicating the distance from the front lot line, the rear lot line, and side lot lines. For the most part, this information is not included in either the existing site plan or the proposed site plan. Approximate location of all natural and artificial features on the subject land and on land that is adjacent to the subject land that may affect the application. Examples may include wood areas, wells, septic tanks. This information is not included. Both the existing site plan and proposed site plan only include about 1/2 of the property from the primary residence to the lake. The portion of the lot between Highway 35 and the residence is not included in the drawing. In the staff report to committee, it mentions 2 detached garages, but they are not included on the sketch. I think that in order for anyone or any committee looking at this application, the cottages and other buildings adjacent to the property on the interior side lot lines should be included in the sketch. Since the proposed site plan has proposed cabin 1 only 7 feet from the lot line and proposed cabin 2 17 feet from the lot line. It is important to have a realistic view of the adjacent properties. The site pictures do not provide any reference as to what we are looking at or what direction they are showing. In the staff report to the committee, recommendation number 4, there is a condition to add silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. If there are wooded areas, and from attachment 7 site pictures, there seems to be, I would ask that screening such as evergreen or all season trees be planted on the interior sides of the lot line, be added as an additional condition. Vital information as to the present location and proposed location of the septic system has not been included in either the attachment 4 drawing or the attachment 5 sketch. I don't understand how informed decisions can be made without proper drawings, including all the required items listed in number 19 of the application for minor variance, a feasibility study into the proposed septic system, or a proper survey of the property. With having cabins so close to the high water mark, there's no room for an accident resulting in sewage leaking into the lake water, jeopardizing the health and safety of nearby residents. Given the lack of complete information in the application, perhaps it would be best for a decision to be tabled until such information is provided by the applicant. A short pause would perhaps provide the Committee of Adjustment an opportunity for a site visit. That's the end of the comment.
Well, those are some pretty substantial comments. I would ask if I could, you to speak to those concerns, Sean, and to David to speak to the septic, concerns about septic.
So, yes, and also there were 2 letters of support received, each from the directly adjacent lots to this property. So I just also want to note that.
So this is not one of the directly adjacent properties.
That is correct.
Okay.
But yes, with respect to the sewage system, we have included that as a condition, that it be approved either by the township or the ministry, because at this time we don't have the building plans in front of us to determine whether it would cross the threshold of the 10,000 liters per day, which would require Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to be the approval authority for such a septic system. Either way, whether it's through the ministry or through the township, there is a strict set of rules that would need to be adhered to. So that would be my comment on the sewage system. With respect to the site plan, the minor variances being requested were to do with the accommodation units, which are on the water side of the property. It's my opinion the site plan did provide sufficient information to, at least for me, to reach my recommendation on this application.
Well, and I would like to note that members of the committee are and normally do make site visits to all properties under applications. So I'm assuming that that all members have actually seen this property.
Madam Chair, I have not seen the property. Under the Ontario stay-at-home order, I did not go out of my house and have not been out of my house. So my apologies, I have not been.
No apologies necessary. The guidelines that the province has put out for us do make some things difficult to do and sometimes lack clarity. Okay, so questions at this point of either Sean or David. Mr. Trapp and then Mr. Rogers.
Well, I was just going to comment on the last thing noting that I have actually seen the property, but I'll hold my question for the moment if I could.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rogers.
At the moment, Madam Chair, the only question I have of Sean is who was the author of that letter, given address where they reside?
The author is Nancy Bradbury, and they were a property owner. They're within the circulation area of the notice.
One question I have before we go any further, if, for instance, there was a suggestion to the applicants that the proposed cabin number 3 move back a couple of feet, would that defer or the application, or can that be dealt with during our discussion here?
So to clarify, cabin 3 does not actually require a minor variance. That is the one that is going to be rebuilt to the same square footage and will not be closer to the side lot line or to the water. So the only cabins that require a minor variance are proposed cabin number 1 and proposed cabin number 2.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Callahan? Is there someone in the waiting room who wishes to speak to the application?
Yes, there is. We'll bring them in.
And is there anyone in the waiting room who wishes to speak against the application?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Mr. Elliott?
Hi. Thanks for having me. There's a lot of information come through there. I guess just the one main thing that we do need to note, the neighbor to the south has agreed and confirmed that everything is good to go ahead. However, they did request that cabin number 3 did get moved back 2 feet. Moved back from the water, from the lake shoreline 2 feet, as well as rotate it approximately 20 degrees away from their property line. That would make the the front wall parallel with the shoreline, as well as more or less parallel with their property line. So I don't know if we need to revise the site plan to show that. Obviously, maybe in the building permit application that would be noted, but if you guys need further information.
Sean?
So yes, at the building permit stage, the site plan would need to be revised to reflect that. But because this cabin 3 does not require a minor variance, it does not impact this application.
Okay. Otherwise, I think everything you guys have already noted, Sean, that you've noted, reducing the land coverage of this by removing 2 of the structures. There is in fact going to be less of a septic demand on the system, as well as all of the septic has been inspected in the recent inspection program that went through in the last few years. And yeah, I don't have much more to add, I guess.
If you could just clarify, Mr. Elliott, what your association is with the application or the.
Sorry, yeah, I'm the general contractor. Brad has approached me to do both the demolition and the reconstruction of the structures. I'll oversee the project from start to finish, including the permit applications, and hence sitting here with you guys. He asked me to represent him on his behalf.
Are there any questions of Mr. Elliott about the application? Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Elliott, I just want to really get clarity on that cabin 3 now. You're actually going to rotate it and move it back, so it's no longer going to be on the exact footprint that is there, but it was the same size. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
That's correct. The building will stay the same size. However, the neighbor has requested that I'm going to call it the southeast corner, which is furthest from the lake, be moved back 2 feet away from the lake. And then using that corner, it will rotate clockwise approximately 20 degrees, moving the entire structure away from the property line, as well as away from the shoreline.
Thank you.
It'll approximately move from the shoreline. Right now it's at 12 feet. It's going to move to 20 feet. And then from the property line, I don't have an exact dimension, but it's approximately going to move about 8 feet as well. The whole building will rotate.
And I guess, Madam Chair, I just would now just like to ask a question of Sean. In light of that response, I'm concerned that we now do see a need for a minor variance to allow that. It's an improvement. It's accommodating a neighbor. I see that all of that as being very positive, and not trying to raise an obstructionist sort of view, but I'm just a little bit concerned that when Mr. Rogers has to issue a permit, he might be saying, wait a sec, we do need a variance because it's no longer a non-conforming use, a legal non-conforming use. So maybe Sean, could you just comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, so I did review the bylaw quickly, but based on what I read, I forget the exact section. They will not be increasing the non-compliance. They will be remaining the same size as what currently exists, and actually be moving further from both the water and the side lot line. So based on my quick review of the bylaw, it does not appear that the proposed cabin 3 would not be in compliance with the requirements.
Okay, I'm a little concerned that may not be the case, but and you know what, if you're satisfied, and I just don't want Mr. Elliott to all of a sudden end up having to make another application at some point because of that accommodation of a neighbor. So, and what I was going to suggest was that another technique I've certainly used in other situations is that we waive the requirement for further notice, that we actually note that this third building will be changed in location.
I believe that Mr. O'Callaghan said that there would not be a requirement for further notice. We have to rely on his recommendations and expertise in guiding us through these applications. It was the reason for my question initially about cabin number 3, because we had a bit of a discussion with the applicant when doing a site visit. And he did mention the possibility of discussions with the neighbor and, you know, moving, as Mr. Elliott said, rotating the cabin so that it would be a little bit further away from the side yard. And personally, I encourage anything that moves a building further back from the water. And I'm pleased to hear that there would not necessarily need to be a deferral or another application. I did want to ask, however, Sean, is the zoning, if this, according to the one letter of concern, has been used solely as a single family residence for some period of time, is it zoned for a lodge type setting?
Yes, it is currently zoned tourist commercial, and it's my understanding it continues to operate as so.
Do we have other questions for Mr. Elliott? Mr. Trapp.
Madam Chair, not so much a question, just a comment, I guess. When I was out at the site visit, I had the opportunity to speak with the owner, and it certainly sounded like, and I was satisfied with the proposed construction and setbacks and so on. It certainly sounded from the owner that existing septic systems would be utilized. And I know that's not the responsibility of this committee, but it certainly sounds from that objection letter that there's going to be a lot of onus on the septic requirements here for sure, notwithstanding the fact that there was an inspection done. So it just makes me a little uncomfortable, but as far as the construction goes and the setbacks, I was satisfied with the explanations, but it does put a lot of onus on the, some good points made in the objection letter.
I would hesitate to say that I think that that's the responsibility of Mr. Rogers when the building permits come in, to ensure that all requirements for septic and safe use of septics is his responsibility. I know that there was a comment about the or a suggestion that both the municipality and MOE retain responsibility, but I believe there's legislation in place that clearly delineates the line where MOE becomes responsible in cases like this, and where the municipality's responsibility shifts to MOE, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
You, Chair, you are correct. Before the permits are issued, we will do a detailed septic review to determine, number one, that the septic systems are working correctly, and whether it's under the municipality's jurisdiction or through the ministry's jurisdiction. If it is the ministry's jurisdiction, they do come back and say to the municipality before we issue permits that the septics are working fine. So we will get something back from the ministry if it's in their field saying, yes, the septics are fine. So those reviews will be done before any permits are issued. So
you're comfortable with the process?
Yes, no problems.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to hear a resolution? Mr. Rogers, Mr. John Rogers, and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Julia Shortreed. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMB 00321 submitted by Kinsman Cottages Inc. To seek relief from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 14.9 meters. From Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 18.5 meters. For the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot accommodation unit. 3, from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the interior side lot line from 10 meters to 2.1 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot one-story accommodation unit. And 4, from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the interior side lot line from 10 meters to 5.1 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,092 square foot accommodation unit. Subject to the following conditions. 1, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed accommodation unit is not located closer than 14.9 meters from the high water mark and 5.1 meters from the interior side lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed accommodation unit is not located closer than 18.5 meters from the high water mark and 2.1 meters from the interior side lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 3, that any on-site sewer system permits and reviews required by the Township of Algonquin Highlands and or the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed buildings and the shoreline. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So, Mr. Elliott, you understand that there is a waiting period or appeal period and before any construction can take place?
Correct. Yes. Great. Will we just get a emailed confirmation of all of this information that?
Yes, a notice will be sent out to you.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for attending.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, our next application is on Kanawha Lane, Cushog Lake, and forgive me if my pronunciation is wrong. Secrezi is the applicant.
Do we lose Chris? Oh, he's okay. So this property is located at 1096 Kanawha Lane. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The property is approximately 0.4 acres in area with 26.26 meters of frontage on Cushog Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a single-family dwelling, a shed, a detached garage, and a privy. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a 1,132 square foot dwelling. The proposed dwelling will be constructed in the same general footprint as the existing dwelling and will be no closer to the high water mark than the existing dwelling. The proposed building will be rotated slightly in order to maintain a required 4.8 meter setback from hydro lines running behind the proposed building footprint. Existing site infrastructure, including the hydro line, driveway, private right-of-way, limit the available building locations for the proposed dwelling that would comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. The following minor variance is being requested. That is from section 4.10.53 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 8.8 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,132 square foot dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, and to the Cushog Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received to date, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 8.8 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Are there any questions of Mr. O'Callaghan at this point? Is there someone who wishes to speak to the application that's waiting in the waiting room?
Yes, there is. We'll bring them in.
It's a very constricted property. There's no question about that. I find it interesting that Hydro One's requirements seem to supersede ours, but there's nothing much we can do about that. So if you could identify yourself and your relationship to this application, please, sir. You're on mute.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Justin Ryan, and I'm a friend of the owner, Dorian Shafizi, and Dorian's second language, English, so I'm assisting with this process for Dorian. So we're currently looking for an adjustment in the minor setback for the existing structure, which Dorian is looking to remove the existing structure as it's an irregular shape, and the building was built in 1935, and it's had several renovations over the many years prior to his purchasing of the property. So entering the property, the current structure, there's several different roof levels, and it's just a mix match of different renovations. So he would like to demolish the current structure, and the irregular shape he'd like to fill in to create a square building. That proposed drawing that has been provided without the minor setback would put the space that's going to be filled in on the building would then encroach on the 4.8 meter setback from the hydro line. So what we're requesting is a minor variance to rotate the building and take it from the current position of 10.6 meters from the high water line, and we're looking for a 1.6 meter variance to allow that building to be restructured so it sits 4.8 meters parallel to the current hydro line on the property.
Are there any questions of the applicant?
Madam Chair, I just have a question. Is this for personal use, this new building?
Yes, it's a family dwelling for cottage summer use only.
Summer use only?
Yes.
Thank you.
Has there been a demolition permit issued?
Yes, there has, and it was approved.
Because there's no question that it needs to be reconstructed now.
That is correct.
If there are no further questions of the applicant, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Trapp.
Through you, Madam Chair, just one question. It's hard to tell from the sketch, but it looks like the proposed building might be infringing a little more on the shore road allowance than the current building. This might be a question for Mr. O'Callaghan. Does that pose any issues?
The shore road allowance has been closed on this property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any further questions? If I could have a mover and a seconder to put a motion on the floor. Mr. Trapp. Mr. Woods.
Moved by Gary Trapp, seconded by Chris Woods. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 00421 to seek relief from section 4.10.53 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 8.8 meters for the purpose of constructing a 1,132 square foot dwelling. Subject to the following conditions: one, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 8.8 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So just a reminder that there's an appeal period that you must wait through before any further activity or development of cottage takes place.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and panel. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe.
Okay, the next application is Withers, Cam, Scott Gibson and Love on Carey Circle in Stanhope on Halls Lake.
Yes, so this property is located at 1055 Carey Circle. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The committee may recognize this application as it is back before the committee. It was originally presented at the regular meeting of January 29th, 2021. However, unfortunately, as the survey was completed, it was discovered it was actually going to be slightly closer than what the approved variance was for. So they reapplied now. And the proposed construction of a 611 square foot addition remains the same. It will be on the side of the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is currently set back 4.9 meters from the high water mark, and the proposed addition will be 10.4 meters from the high water mark. So the variance that is being requested is from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw, and that is to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 10.4 meters for the purpose of constructing a 611 square foot addition to an existing dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Halls Hawk Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 10.4 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. Three, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And four, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Are there any questions of Mr. O'Callaghan? And is there anyone in the waiting room who wishes to speak to the application?
Yes, there is.
Okay, we'll give them a moment.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of committee. My name is Sean Love. I'm the agent on behalf of the family. Just to further the report of Mr. O'Callaghan. The cottage is an existing non-conforming use. It was originally built in 1936. It's about approximately 900 square feet. The addition, as you've heard, is about 611 square feet. The family has tried to plan the location of the addition as best we could away from the shoreline as much as possible. We're constrained by the existing septic tank and setbacks from our neighboring property. As you've also heard, unfortunately, the surveyors indicated the original setback that was approved by committee in January needs to be revised by about 25 centimeters. So this is why we're back before you today. We agree with the staff recommendations and take no issue. So if there are any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them for you.
Are there any questions from the committee? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to put a motion on the floor? Mr. Woods. Seconder, Mr. Rogers.
Moved by Chris Wood, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMB 00521 to seek relief from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 10.4 meters for the purpose of constructing a 611 square foot addition to an existing dwelling, subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 10.4 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. Two, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. Three, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And four, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
Well, it's unfortunate that those few centimeters made you have to come back and wait a little bit longer, but there will remain another appeal period for you to go through before anything happens. But thanks for your patience and coming back to us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate your consideration. Have a good afternoon.
You too. So the final application is by Sharp and Shea on North Shore Road in Stanhope.
Yes, this property is located at 1613 North Shore Road. The lands are zoned rural residential and designated waterfront under the official plan. The lands are approximately 1.2 acres in area with 54.8 meters of frontage on North Shore Road. The surrounding uses are generally rural residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, 2 sheds, and a sleeping cabin. The applicant is proposing to construct a 156 square foot addition on the side of the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is currently set back 0.6 meters from the 0.6 meters, and the proposed addition will be 3.6 meters from the front lot line. The proposed addition will be located on the easterly side of the existing dwelling. The proposed addition will not project beyond the front face of the existing dwelling. The lands are limited in available building locations that would conform to zoning requirements due to current locations of the dwelling and existing site servicing, including the septic system and driveway access. The following minor variance is being requested from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the front lot line from 15 meters to 3.6 meters for the purpose of constructing a 156 square foot addition. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 3.6 meters from the front lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. And 3, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Are there any questions of Mr. O'Callaghan about his report? And do we have anyone, is the applicant here to speak to the application?
Yes, they'll be joining us over the phone.
Okay, are you connected to the meeting?
We're just trying to bring them in. Oh. Hello, can you hear us? I think there might be they may be muted.
It does look like they're muted, but I thought that they should be able to hear us.
Yeah, they might be having difficulty unmuting on their end. Is there a button you have to? If they don't have a microphone.
When this pandemic is over, we are all going to be so much more superior in technology. Maybe.
We've just sent an email to see if they're able to unmute, so just be another minute here, sorry.
Okay. While we're waiting, I'd like to make a couple of comments about this application. I'm not sure that they will have any impact on the decision that we make, but this is an example of debt creep in what we have called debt creep in my estimation, where someone has a deck and they put an addition on the deck and then they build another deck. However, having said that, I see it does not project any further or closer to the water than the existing dwelling. The only other questions that I would have is there a limit on the number of bunkies that are allowed on a property?
Yes, you're limited to one bunkie per property.
Because I believe there is what would be considered a second bunkie. It looks like a gypsy wagon a little bit, but I always thought that it would be used possibly as a bunkie. Can you respond to that, Mr. Rogers?
Through you, Chair, I have confirmed it is a storage building. That's all they're using it for.
Okay. So I was concerned about that. And the other thing that the constrictions listed about where the addition onto the house would have to go were due to the driveway access and the location of the septic system in it. I'm not sure that either of those really are deterrents.
Sorry, the applicant's calling back in, so we're going to see if we can get them. Okay, I believe we have them on the line now.
Hello, could you identify yourselves and then make any comments you wish to make about the application?
Maybe not. Not muted.
Yes, yes, it's Christine Sharp and Kevin Shea. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, we could hear you all the way along, so that's great. So Christine Sharp and Kevin Shea here, and some of you may know that the property that we're in, we moved from a much larger house into this one. It's a principal residence, and it's the original McPhail homestead. So we have the original deed that was built around the late 1800s, but it's just a little bit tight on space. So we are looking to. Hello?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, thank you. So we are looking at putting an addition on where the existing deck is, but not as large as the current deck. And we are not planning on putting another deck then on the outside of that, because basically we sit at ground level. So, but with COVID, we are having to live here, eat here, and for me, work here. And the current 15 by 14 room that we have just is not enough space. So we're hoping to get a minor variance so that we can put that addition on the side to just give us one extra room.
Are there any questions from the committee of Ms. Sharp and Mr. Shea? No questions? I just would seek clarification of the septic system as being a hindrance to building in any other location on the property.
Yeah, last year we actually we put a new septic system in and we moved it towards the back of the property. We passed our mandatory septic inspection, but it was right at the side of the house and just a bit too close to the road and too close to the water on the other side. So we thought, well, let's just move it and not have any issues around it. So that was done last year.
Okay. So if there are no further questions from the committee, no further comments from either Mr. O'Callaghan or Mr. Rogers, could I have a mover and a seconder to put a motion on the floor? Mr. Trapp and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Gary Trapp, seconded by Julia Shortreed. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMB 621 to seek relief from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduction in the required setback from the front lot line from 15 meters to 3.6 meters for the purpose of constructing a 156 square foot addition to an existing dwelling. Subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 3.6 meters from the front lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, the sleeping cabin being inspected to confirm it complies with the requirements of a sleeping cabin in section 4.2.10 of the zoning bylaw. And three, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
Just a reminder, Christine, that while your application has been approved, there is a 20-day appeal period that you have to wait for before any more construction takes place. And we wish you luck with your construction. It is a lovely little cabin, cottage.
Well, when COVID is over, I invite you all to come and take a peek inside, because the log and the horsehair chinking and everything is incredible. It's in incredible shape. So I'm glad we can keep it and just add a little bit onto it, hopefully.
Right on. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
So I believe that concludes the nature of our business for today. Unless, Sean, is there anything? I guess we need to set a date for our next meeting.
Yes, I do have 3 applications so far for a meeting in May.
So that would be on the 28th.
Correct.
Everyone available on that date?
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay. Right on. Any other comment or that needs to be made? Okay, hearing none, I will ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Mr. Rogers and Julia Shortreed. And we made it through the meeting without losing everybody.
Or losing the power. The wind here is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank goodness we did manage to get through it. I'd hate to have to defer everybody. So thank you all, one and all, and we'll see you again.
Sorry, I'll just read that last resolution.
Oh, sorry, Sean.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Julia Shortreed, be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 2:26 p.m. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Chris Woods, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's great.
Thanks, folks. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. And you.
Yeah.